Hello, I'm Gerry Clarke, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our second Here for Each Other Happy Café meeting. I'm joined by my co-host, Kerry Pocock. But before we begin, I'd just like to remind everybody to switch their phones off so we don't get any interruptions. I believe Therese Coffey was interviewed on Radio 4 yesterday, and her phone rang halfway through the interview with Nick Robinson. It was quite embarrassing. They still talk about it now. Anyway, so our aim today is to bring some topical news items about health and well-being in a friendly and informative and hopefully inspirational way. And each fortnight we'll be discussing a range of issues, including many of the Here for Each Other initiatives for staff, NHS staff across Dorset, and highlighting the Action for Happiness 10 Keys to Happier Living. So I hope you'll join in our discussions, and please feel free to make any comments and suggestions using the chat box. There'll always be an opportunity to ask questions of our speakers later in the programme. I note at the moment we don't have that many subscribers, so we are recording this session and it will be sent out to our target audience, which is 50,000 staff working across Dorset in the NHS. So hopefully this will reach a much wider audience once we've made the recording. Now, as this is a pilot series, we need to get some feedback on how things are working. And we'd like to know the sort of best timing and duration of our sessions so we can evolve a new or a better way of doing things in the new year. So we created an evaluation form. We'd like all the subscribers to fill this in at the end of the meeting, so we have some feedback on what's working, what you'd like to see more of. And to help us with that, we've created an attractive prize. We're offering a session at a health and well-being spa for the winner of the competition. And what we're going to do, input all the entries, everybody that's subscribed or given an evaluation form, into a hat, and we'll pull one out, and the winner will have the opportunity of pampering themselves as their prize for this evaluation survey. Right, so enough of that. We have today three speakers. I'm delighted to welcome Marisa Whitty, who's going to be talking about mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, for those of you who know about it. And Gerry will be talking to her shortly about her activities. We then have Maria Clarke, who works for Health and Nature Dorset, known as HAND, and they are currently offering Give Nature a Go courses for NHS staff throughout Dorset. It's an outdoor activity. And Maria is going to be talking about the work of that organisation later on. And I also would like to welcome Neil Hutchinson, who's a colleague, a friend of mine from Rotary, and he's going to be talking about one of the 10 keys to happier living, giving, which is very important. And Rotary does a lot in the community, giving time and support to people who are in need. So that's the format for this morning. I'm now going to ask Marisa if she'd like to give a little meditation to get us started. So over to you, Marisa.
Great. Thanks, Gerry. So just to arrive in this space all together for a few moments, just being able to kind of let go of whatever's happened previously in the day or in the last few minutes, and be able to arrive and be present with what's happening now. So just inviting you really just to maybe make a little shift in your sitting position, just allowing your mind and your body to know that something is about to happen, that there's a new awareness, a new presence in this moment. And if it feels okay, if it feels comfortable for you, just to close the eyelids, or even just rest the gaze, just lower the gaze, just to reduce the kind of external stimulation, and bring your awareness, your attention, just to gently rest in the body, and maybe in the areas that are making contact with the seat and the ground beneath you. So dropping into the experience of sitting. So noticing the contact points between the underside of the body, the buttocks, the backs of the legs, and the seat. That sense of weight, of pressure, depending on the type of seat you're sitting on, whether it's hard or soft. But just noticing that physical experience of sitting and also the feet on the floor. Notice the shape of the body in this sitting position. So letting go of any kind of thoughts or feelings or whatever's happened in the day so far, and just dropping into this simple experience of sitting. How that feels, how the body feels. And we can gently expand that awareness to the breath as it rises and falls in the body, maybe in the belly or chest. Again, just taking a few moments to drop into direct experience of here and now, physical, somatic experience. Noticing if there's any tiredness, maybe any agitation, maybe a sense of just restfulness as you just observe the breath coming in, going out of the body. And maybe noticing all the various places that you can locate that breath. So it might be the rise and fall of the belly and chest. You might also notice it in the back of the throat as it travels in and out. Maybe the entrance to the nostrils, where it enters and leaves the body. Noticing if the mind skips off to think about something else that's coming up or something else that's happened. And just for one more moment, coming back to the breath or the sitting position. Dropping into present moment. And as we do this, we arrive fully in this space, ready to share and absorb and be fully present for whatever's to come. So gently blinking open the eyes if they've been closed. Maybe having a little wiggle or a stretch. And handing back over to Gerry.
Thank you, Marisa. That was really lovely. Really enjoy your meditations. Just takes me, Gerry's giving you a round of applause as well. Yeah, so I suppose really just a bit of time here to hear from you about kind of maybe what got you into the mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. Just tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so MBCT, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, it's a bit of a mouthful. It's actually got an extra bit as well on the end now, which is for life. So mindfulness-based cognitive therapy for life. What got me into it? So I've been a long-term meditator, have been for, I don't really like to say, somewhere between 20 and 30 years. But it was only in the last kind of decade that I've discovered mindfulness meditation, which really is just kind of bringing aspects of meditation into everyday life, being able to transfer those skills, the benefits of meditation, and actually transfer them into your life. So that's what the MBCT program is all about. I got into it I started working in schools and a few years ago, and realized that this practice is so key and so useful for children, and also, the way they learn and absorb techniques, and they just take things on board in a much easier way than adults often do, little sponges that they are. So they just kind of learn these mindfulness meditation techniques. So I started teaching that. I trained with the Mindfulness in Schools project and started teaching mindfulness in schools, and then it kind of naturally grew to where the teachers need it and the bodies of parents need it. It needs to be a whole community approach, really, for this to be, make any meaningful change and impact. So I started doing that. I just did training after training with them, and then ended up training with the Oxford Mindfulness Centre, which is now the Oxford Mindfulness Foundation, in their MBCT course, which is a really extensive 8-week course, teaching the skills of, these ancient practices of meditation, but also combining them with psychological cognitive exercises, the CBT model, to really grow awareness of where our patterns of thought and behavior show up in life, and how to challenge those, or how to accept them, forgive them, show compassion, kindness, all of those facets of mindfulness, but just spotlighting them, highlighting them in a different way, and giving tools to work with them and integrate into daily life practices, where they show up in your work and relationships, your exercise, your movement. So it's it incorporates everything that we do in life: mindful listening, mindful speaking, mindful eating. Like, there's such a range of exercises that we do to highlight where and how these practices can benefit us in so many different ways.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think you talked earlier about the benefits. Can you say a bit more about what you think the biggest benefits are?
Well, I think, there's a whole list, I suppose, of being able to let go of stuff, I suppose, is one of the biggest things. That's one of the biggest tools that you learn in practice, is being able to let go and begin again. And that kind of translates to so many different things in life. So letting go of stress, I guess, is one of the biggest things. Letting go of this kind of drive that we have to be a certain way. And there's just so much in that letting go, but also practicing tools of being with as well. So we've got 3 kind of modes. We're either striving or pushing away or being neutral. So we find ourselves kind of doing that in most areas of life. We're either pushing forwards or pushing against, or shutting down, being neutral. So it's kind of growing awareness of our habits. So the benefits kind of are so far-reaching, really, depending on if you're someone who suffers from anxiety or depression and low mood. We can learn skills to be with those difficulties in a different way, not always trying to avoid them and push them away, but learning a softer approach, learning to kind of turn towards them and be with them and be accepting of them. And then that in itself kind of softens. So in terms of, sleeplessness and stress and relationship difficulties and overworking, overthinking, which is one of the biggest things that we do, that overstriving, how our habits of eating and how our, all the things that we kind of overdo or underdo in life, it can really benefit us.
Yeah, thank you. It sort of brings to mind, I've had some conversations with some of our nursing staff this week around kind of making time for themselves and being overly busy and overly not putting themselves first, always putting their patients, their families, everyone else kind of first, and sort of how we fit that in, I suppose.
Yeah, that's always a challenge, isn't it? And our it is really interesting, actually, and it's something that comes up a lot, that we will be much more careful about the well-being of other people than we are towards ourselves. Across the board, we're much more forgiving and kind and compassionate towards other people than we are ourselves. And and it's again, it's developing the awareness of that, and also it's a bit of a cliche, but filling up our own cup so that we're able to then help other people in a more efficient, in a more caring way. But all of those, how I think what it also highlights is how we treat ourselves really is how we're going to show up for other people. So if we do prioritize our own health and well-being, then we are much more likely to be more forgiving and caring and compassionate towards other people. It really does correlate, actually. Showing ourselves that kindness really is in turn, it has that ripple effect of reaching other people. But yeah, it's a real challenge in our lives, particularly in this climate, in this context as well. We're so busy. So it's one of those things on the course, it's one of the biggest things that comes up. So I run an 8-week MBCT course 2 or 3 times a year. And in the first week, that's the first thing that will come up, is I haven't got time to do these practices. And if we try and find the time, we're never going to find it. We have to make time. So we have to ring fence, we have to prioritize. We make time to eat meals in the morning, we make time to brush our teeth and hopefully get dressed in the morning. There are certain things that we make time for because they have to happen. And this has to be put into that category as well. And the 8-week program, I always kind of say, this is an opportunity, it's an experiment to see what happens when you do make the time. Just use this as an experimental opportunity to see what happens. And if nothing happens and you just find yourself with less time and more stressed, then fine, you can forget it after the course. But if you find yourself with good amounts of nourishing time and you really benefit from this, and you actually find that you have better time management as a result of this, then you've gained something. But it's really difficult. It's a real challenge. And also through the course, there are lots of different types of practice. So it's not just kind of a sitting with the breath, traditional meditation. There are lots. There's a movement practice. There's an eating practice. There are lots of different types of practices. It really is ways to integrate this into your everyday life. So there's lots of opportunities. But yeah, it's always a challenge.
Can I ask you, how do people get onto your courses? How do they register?
Well, for my courses in particular, it's through my website, so I can share that in the chat.
Yep, that'd be good.
You can go to the Oxford Mindfulness Foundation.
But I think there's access through WellNet, isn't there? The web page for the NHS staff in Dorset. I assume there is, but it's
there are mindfulness classes that we do through the ICS offer, but we don't at the moment offer the MBCT.
Okay, fine. But anyway, if people are interested in your courses, if you could give us the link to your website. Is it called Lifesurfing?
It is called Lifesurfing, so I'll just put a link for that in the chat.
Thanks, Marisa.
Yeah. And anybody have any questions? We have time for one question. Is anybody there that would like to raise a question? Unmute yourself and speak up. No. Another one then from me, Marisa. Is there an app that we can load to get this sort of information? Would you recommend a particular app?
What for mindfulness practices in general?
Yeah, I've come across apps for meditation, which I personally use. They're quite good. But have you got any other apps that we would find useful? For this course specifically, for MBCT, I'd really recommend, because it is scaffolded in a very specific way. It's the attendance of the 8-week course, and then through that you get recordings and you get handouts throughout that. But yeah, I mean, there's Insight Timer and there's Headspace. There are loads of apps out there if you just want to dip your toe in and try some different guided practices. Good. All right. Well, thank you very much, Marisa. It was a great introduction to mindfulness. I'm certainly very interested in following it up, and I'd certainly drop you a line to see if I can come along to a course maybe next year. Right. From mindfulness to nature. as a mindfulness nature connection. We had a speaker a few weeks ago. So I'm now going to ask Maria Clarke, who's from Health and Nature Dorset, to tell us a little about her activities and to highlight the Give Nature a Go opportunities for NHS staff through Dorset. So over to you, Maria. Tell us all about it.
Brilliant, thank you. So I guess to put things into context, I'm employed by Dorset Wildlife Trust and I manage the Dorset Local Nature Partnership, which brings together lots of environmental organisations and private organisations and health and wellbeing to really maximise the benefits of our environment for people through health and wellbeing, but also for nature, obviously for itself and the economy. So one of our priorities is natural well-being or nature naturally healthy, and so we're really focusing on nature-based well-being, and through that programme we've developed a collaboration called Health and Nature Dorset, as you mentioned, which is very much about bringing the environment sector and the health sector together, potentially for social prescribing, but other opportunities to encourage people to get out in nature for their well-being. Lots of increasing evidence about the support, how you can use the 5 ways to well-being for nature, which is hugely positive. So we've been working with the ICS since the beginning of the year, and we've been putting on a staff wellbeing programme for all our ICS staff members, so it includes NHS, the local authorities, etc. And that's called Give Nature a Go. So Give Nature a Go has a wide range of activities, mostly during the working day. So it's to try and encourage where people can to take some time out of their day with managers' permission to go on to these activities. But we have got some weekend activities, we have had some evening sessions, and we are looking for some family friendly activities as well, because we're recognising that not everybody can take their time out during the day and then potentially may have childcare responsibilities. So we're looking for those sorts of opportunities. So we have activities from the Wildlife Trust, Dorset Wildlife Trust, from the RSPB, National Trust, the 2 local authorities, so both Dorset and BCP Council, and some independent organisations. So we've got a Dorset Forest Bathing, we've got Nature Connection Dorset, a number of arts-based activities. During the summer, we had some Tai Chi and yoga activities, and then we have a wide range of wellbeing walks. So we've had some on Brownsea. The Wildlife Trust have got a rewilding site called Wild Woodbury just out in Bay Regis. We've had some at the Kingham Centre. We've also got activities at RSPB Arn, and lots of different activities. I'll pop in the chat in a moment where you can find out all the information. So all of that is available on WellNet. Activities range from usually an hour and a half to a couple of hours, some slightly longer. We've also got some archaeology walks. So hugely different opportunities and activities. Lots of them very much link into the 5 ways to wellbeing and that being present. So very much linking in a lot of it to mindfulness, as Marisa was talking about.
Well, thank you, Maria. Does anybody have any questions of Maria? It all sounds very interesting to me, being an outdoor person. Any questions? I can't hear any.
I could share just a couple of feedback from some of the people that we have had. So if I just look at my screen, so one of the sessions I didn't mention, we've had a pony handling session in West Dorset last week, and we had a lovely email from somebody who said, as soon as I smelt the wood smoke from the bell tent, saw the view and the lovely ponies, my shoulders relaxed and I felt the tension that fulfills my life melt away within seconds. So absolutely beautiful feedback from there. And just a couple of other comments we've had. Somebody recognised that they can actually do forest bathing in their back garden, so garden bathing. So one of the things that we're hoping to do and hoping to bring out through Give Nature a Go is to give people the skills to then be able to do things themselves. So similar to what Marisa was saying about For Life, trying to highlight these opportunities that you can do. So if somebody can do forest bathing, they can also do garden bathing. Somebody highlighted that plants are so wonderful in the outdoors for their well-being. And somebody else has highlighted that it's so important for them to spend some time on themselves and support their own well-being because they're a single parent and therefore often don't get time to be able to do that. And somebody else said, I spent a lot of time outside walking anyway, and this just reinforced how important this activity was. So enjoy nature, it's incredible. So really beneficial. The programme is running until May next year. So absolutely lots of activities. And I will pop the message or the web link in chat.
Thank you, Maria. Yes, that should flag the whole range of activities. If you have any images, your pony handling sounds very visually exciting. So perhaps you can send some photographs.
Just waiting for the photos from that session because
Yeah.
they only took part.
Is that one running again, Maria?
It will be. We haven't got dates yet, but yeah, we are looking to programme that in at least once or twice.
I think if Ali can hear, we ought to start collecting some images to visualize some of these activities. I don't know if you've got pictures of forest bathing and pony tracking or whatever, but there's something to perhaps build up a series of slides to illustrate future events. Right, well, it's nearly past, so we must crack on. I'd now like to turn quickly to the subject of happiness and how we can all learn to increase our happiness and well-being. The Action for Happiness organisation has introduced 10 keys to happier living, and these are spelt out in a simple mnemonic called Great Dream. And today we're going to have a little talk about G, which is for giving, doing things for others. And I have with us today Neil Hutchinson, who's a fellow Rotarian from Wimborne Rotary Club. And I've asked him to talk a little bit about how a Rotary Club helps in the community, giving time and money and support to local causes, and how this whole activity brings happiness and joy to people, both the givers and the people receiving the support. So, Neil, perhaps you can tell us a little about the work, maybe Wimborne Food Bank and things like that.
Thank you, Gerry. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, fine, loud and clear.
Good. I'll just have to apologise again for the lack of image. I guess it's because I use an Apple Mac, and Apple and Microsoft don't like talking to each other or something.
Probably the case. We need an avatar. Ali, we need an animated avatar for those that can't.
Well, I didn't dare fiddle about too much in case everything disappeared altogether. I think maybe I'll start by saying, why did I join Rotary in the first place? Because I haven't been in Rotary for like years and years, like some people. I joined several years ago, a little bit after I retired, I suppose you'd say. Although when I say retired, what I mean is that I sold my company on, and so I had a bit more time available to me, and I wanted to give something back to society, I suppose. And I found that it's a good place to make new friends, meet people. And I'm a project person, and I like taking on projects. And projects that actually give something back or do good, they're very good as well. And Rotary actually does both local and international type projects. After the trouble in Ukraine started, I suppose, well, it's a year ago, I think. Unfortunately, I read somewhere recently that it's almost just over a year. We actually ran a project along with the Allendale Centre in Wimborne, and it was surprising how generous local people were to provide funding to actually Shelterbox, who were working in Poland next to Ukraine. So there was people on the ground there to manage the funding and so forth. And just from a single weekend, we raised £5,000, which I thought was quite good. And I was impressed with the generosity of people and their interest in this. What else do we do? Well, we do various projects. At the moment, there's something called a Shoebox Project, and this is where Rotarians and their friends and families will basically put some small, modest gifts in a shoebox-sized box, and these go off to children who are disadvantaged internationally, who otherwise wouldn't actually get anything for Christmas. And these are in different age groups and so forth. Another project that will happen on the 4th of December is a a Santa fun run, which is along the River Stour this year. And so if you like running, do come along. It's 2.5k or 5k, and in this case, all the entry fees will be donated to the Julia's House charity, which you may well be aware of, which is a children's hospice around the Corfe-Mullen area. And we did the same thing last year. So if you know anybody who wants a run at 10 o'clock, Sunday, the 4th of December, come along to the Wimborne Football Club. It's for all ages in this case. What else do you want me to say, Gerry?
Do you want to say a little bit about how we're raising money for food banks in our local community? I think that's a success story.
Absolutely, yes. The Wimborne Food Bank, which during the pandemic and afterwards has become busier and busier, actually has become one of the big local projects, I suppose, for making donations. And in fact, the Rotary Club donate regularly every month to the food bank, and I believe we're either the first or the second largest donator to the food bank at this time. And it's a regular donation. Every member actually, or most members, make like a standing order donation, and that works very well. And in fact, the food bank just had an award. I think I've forgotten what the name of the award is, but they were awarded for the fact that they are so well organised.
Well, thank you, Neil. That's a great insight into the work of Rotary. But it's not all about money, is it? It's about giving other people your time and support, helping other people. Sometimes the things that we can do as individuals, which we can teach a skill or give knowledge or involve activities that support the community. So it's not just money, it's volunteering, giving time. And the other thing I ought to touch upon, giving involves acts of kindness. And if you can think about how you can be kinder to your friends, neighbours and families, and try and do 3 acts of kindness every day, I've found that certainly helps and improves my own happiness in life, because you feel as though you're actually doing some good, helping other people. So acts of kindness. There's a very good book by John McGee called Kindness Matters. We might cover that topic another day. Right. Well, I think we're drawing to a close now, so I just want to talk about our next meeting, where we will be going to have a talk from Peter Holloway, who's from the BCP Parks Foundation, involving Give Nature a Go projects in the community, and also Jenny Newman, who's going to be introducing us to her Tai Chi Qigong exercises. So that's something to look forward to. And we have retired police officer Derek Radley talking about relationships, which is the R in great dream. R is for relationships, and there's a lot we can do to maintain good relationships and improve our happiness and well-being. So unless everybody's got any questions, I think it's probably time for me to draw to a close. Any questions? Any comments? Kerry, do you have anything to add to what we're doing? Can't hear you.
I'm muted. I was just saying, I thought it was a really lovely session today. Thank you so much. And those things all kind of blend beautifully together. So really, really enjoyed today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, my thanks to Kerry and to Ali, who's behind the scenes, Marisa, Maria, and Neil for joining us today and giving us an insight into your activities. And we look forward to seeing you again in a fortnight's time. That's on Tuesday, the 25th of October, and we'll be circulating details. Anyway, thanks a lot, and cheerio. See you another time. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.